Good morning, gamers. So, I know that this game can only be played once, and if you get spoiled on it, that it completely ruins the experience, so I've made sure that there are none in this video. But if you haven't played the game and this video ends up making you want to, which hopefully it will, I think the game is great, you should just be careful about watching other content on it just because you might get spoiled. Please feel free to comment whatever you like on the video, but if there are spoilers, make sure you mark it appropriately, and if that isn't the case, I will have to remove it, which I hope you can understand. Oh, and by the way, YouTube notifications seem to kind of suck, so I made a Discord for people that actually want to be notified when I post a video or I go live. It's open to everyone, and I would love to see you there. But with that disclaimer out of the way, I would like to present to you the first time Outer Wilds experience. So, welcome back to another one of my videos. I'm happy you're back for more, or maybe it's your first time here, but regardless, hello. Also, if it is your first time here, I would really like if you considered subscribing or interacting with the video in some way by the end of it. But, make sure you enjoy the video first before you make such an important decision. Genuinely though, it does really help out, and I am eternally grateful for all the support you guys have shown this little channel in the past. But anyway, this video is going to be about Outer Wilds, and how enjoyable it is for a first-time player who knows nothing about it and has never experienced it before, like me. Like most of the other games I've covered, somebody bought this for me many years ago, and at that time I only played like roughly an hour. I liked the others, but I didn't realize that in this case I was missing out on a masterclass in storytelling by not playing it back then. Personally, I've never been somebody that likes story games. Games with a lot of lore or reading that you have to go through, I don't really care about any of that stuff. I'm in it for the gameplay. In fact, most games like that, I skip pretty much every cutscene that I physically can. But even for a story hater like me, this game was worth my time. So let me tell you why I'm singing its praises before we've even gotten to the main body of the video. And lastly, before we dive into the meat and potatoes, I often like to answer the question of, should you play the game blind? And you already heard me say this, but yes, 1000% you should absolutely play this game blind. You will completely ruin your experience if you learn anything about the lore, or the pathing, or the, outcome. It's all really important to your initial experience. I'll tell you about various elements of the game here and there, but I will not be giving any information that you can't get within the first hour of gameplay. Please play it blind. Thank you. You start the game by waking up from a nap in a small village on a planet called Timber Hearth, preparing for your first voyage into space to find an adventure and explore old ruins from civilizations past. The NPC you find as soon as you wake up sends you wandering around the town and getting to know the residents, quickly establishing a slow-paced vibe. Characters are charming and clearly have an intricate history, as well as a way of life, which is appealing in its own otherworldly way. I felt compelled to talk to almost everyone I saw and make sure to see all the sights there were to see, spending upwards of half an hour before even going into space. It gives you a very brief tutorial on fixing your spaceship when you fly into outer space and inevitably break it, how to use some strange device called a signal scope that can find music and other noises throughout the solar system, and then it sends you through a museum of artifacts. These relics of the past, left by a people called the Nomai, will be the core of your gameplay experience, and the reason the storytelling is so unique. The sculptures and writings are strange and unfamiliar, at least in the beginning. But they help set the tone that you're setting out on an exploration, almost like an excited budding archaeologist ready to go uncover some ancient historical thing of some sort. Getting the launch codes and hopping into your ship, you take off into space, your only small bit of guidance being that you should go to the moon for an easy first voyage, which, of course, I completely ignored and then subsequently crashed into a bunch of stuff. But anyway, the flight is a bit disorienting, and the zero-gravity movement with your jetpack is quite difficult to get used to. It uses velocity vectors, which it maintains and you can read with a bit of experience, but it takes a while to adapt. The autopilot is scary and somewhat unreliable. There are a load of planets and other random stuff you don't know anything about, and you just kind of go anyway, mindlessly wandering the solar system and looking for adventure. I think in terms of a tutorial, the game actually does quite a good job of sticking to its theme that you'll experience for the remainder of your playtime, of not really knowing what's going on all that well, but just kind of getting by anyway. Any vague direction you need can be acquired by using the signal scope and just flying towards something undiscovered. You're likely to find one of your fellow Hearthians who all have unique personalities and are often in unusual locations on different planets. This brings me to where the game goes from there in terms of directing you from one plot point to the next, since it is a story game after all. Remember those Nomai guys and their weird writings? Turns out they were chatting away all over the ruins that you've now gone out to find. The text doesn't explicitly tell you where you need to go or what you need to do, and very often you'll find something that you don't really know the meaning of yet. You haven't been to that place to know what the subject that's being talked about even is. It's in this way, however, that you end up moving from planet to planet, exploring one thing after the other, and unraveling a mysterious event that you experience soon after you set off. In my case, I was in a building, so I just kind of went, huh? Why did I die? Did it just bug? Whatever, I still have the launch codes, so clearly I don't have to do the tutorial again. I'll just go back off into space. But then you try talking to an NPC, and you realize that there are new dialogue options that weren't there before. This isn't a reloaded save. Your character is just as confused as you are, and this mystery becomes a new objective. In getting towards that objective, however, the game never railroads you into doing one thing or going to one specific place. And as such, you feel like you can just do kind of whatever you want. You have a lot of freedom in that regard. You are absolutely free to explore and unravel the mysteries at your own pace, or in your own way. You see that planet? You can crash into it. You see something that looks kind of funky and you don't really know anything about it? Might as well go explore. So you fly over there, park your ride somewhere safe, and just become entrenched entirely within the weirdness that surrounds you. You might find something useful. You also might not, but there's a serious joy to finding your own way throughout the, floating like balls of maybe rock that are orbiting your sun. The environments of each planet are unique and distinct in some way, shape, or form. There's not necessarily a logical force at play by our standards, but there's always something strange to discover or overcome as a part of each of them. Something that has logic by this universe's standards, and in time is something you can comprehend as well, or at least grow accustomed to. The music in the game adds perfectly to the ambiance of each planet, wonderfully embodying the ever-growing curiosity you feel as a player, hopping from one place to the next, simply drinking in all the knowledge available to you, which, believe me, is a hell of a lot. At some point, however, and this is my only negative talking point about the game, so get ready, as you're putting together heaps of information like some kind of super detective genius, you reach a state of information overload, where you just have no godforsaken clue what your next step is going to be. Of the 900 things you know you should be doing, it's hard to wrap your head around what you even want to do next. The game almost gives you too much direction, as in too many directions at the same time, to the point where I personally got a bit stun-locked and had to make a physical list of what I was going to do and the order in which I was going to do them, just because I simply couldn't remember it all. There wasn't any task I needed to do before any other. I was free to choose whatever I wanted, but that freedom, in the midst of trying to think so hard about unraveling the secrets and draw connections between all the different pieces of information you're finding out about, it can be a bit of a burden on the mind. That's just my take on it, but maybe I've just got a goldfish brain that can't really handle more than one piece of information at a time. I wouldn't be especially surprised. Anyway, I recommend making a list of what you want to do. The game records key bits of information you discover for you, so at least if you scrounge through it all, you can remember your next big lead. But it doesn't hurt to have a list of your own, because you might have a couple of those going at one time. After organizing your muddled thoughts, you continue your exploration, unraveling the plot of this ancient civilization, and what's happening to you with your strange Groundhog Day situation. The story feels like a history lesson almost, and you get to become curious about the new and exciting ventures, places you can go, things you can see. The story is non-linear, which honestly for me was probably its biggest selling point. It implies things that you can go and find, and there are huge gaps in the written text. But instead of telling you the story with words, it shows you the story with the things around you. Sometimes the next chronological part of the story is across the solar system, or the only way to get the information missing from a piece of text is to go to a completely undiscovered location. But despite the gaps, there is almost nothing that you can't figure out if you know where to look. It's very much a show, don't tell kind of storytelling, or story showing, I guess. It's exactly the same way that your teachers used to say, "Don't say this thing happened," Show it through environmental storytelling or implications so that the reader, or in this case player, can reach the correct conclusion for themselves. It's really rewarding when something slips into place in your mind, even though realistically you know that it was designed specifically so it would happen that way. The strange contraptions that used to seem foreign and unusual to you slowly become second nature, your intuition picking up on something's function without more than a second glance. You become engrossed in the world of Outer Wilds, and it makes you feel like some kind of archaeological detective mastermind while it slowly teaches you the things you're dying to know. You transition from passively meandering around the solar system to actively searching for ways to get the places that you want to go. You take more risks, the stakes get higher, and it all builds upon itself until you finally reach a conclusion. Good, bad, satisfying, unsatisfying, I'm not going to say. But when you get there, you know that you got there because you truly put all the information together yourself, and you have a considerable grasp on the concepts that govern the Outer Wilds universe. I think that, in and of itself, is a plenty good conclusion for me. I'm sad to say that I can't really tell you that much more about it, and you'll have to go find out anything else you want to know on your own. But if you've played it before, you definitely know what I mean when I say that it's an incredibly designed story game that is very much worth your time. Playing through the game in its entirety took me around 15.5 hours. And as far as I know, I explored pretty much everything that was available to me. And you might have guessed this based on everything I've said so far, but on the Lunan First Time Player Experience ranking chart, I will be giving Outer Wilds the very first 10. I think the craftsmanship behind each and every piece of the game shines through, and it's clear that a lot of thought and love was put into it. There is also, of course, the major caveat that if you learn anything about the game, it instantly becomes somewhat less enjoyable. And the more that you know, the less of the game that there actually is for you to play. Just because getting that knowledge is essentially the entire experience. The whole game is like one big fantastical lore puzzle with lots of other smaller puzzles along the way that make up the whole. You don't tend to have to solve a small scale puzzle. You tend to need a piece of information, at least from the opposite side of the solar system, to even begin to understand what the hell it is you're even looking at. The environment of each planet is fresh and intriguing, and the music plays into the different energies of each one beautifully. The characters, both yourself and the ones you encounter, are filled with personality, and they're lovely to speak with, not only for their insights into the world around you, but just to enjoy their witty conversations. You should play this game if you haven't, and I'd like to thank the devs for making it and my friend for getting it for me. I really enjoyed my time playing Outer Wilds, and if you enjoyed the video at all, don't forget to subscribe or leave a like. Maybe comment something cryptic about your own experience in a non-spoilery kind of way. I'm sorry the video was shorter than some of my others, but I really wanted to keep it as bare bones as possible, while still giving you my opinion on it, seeing as my opinion was so high. But if you're itching for more content, feel free to follow the VOD Archive channel where I posted the 2 long-ass streams from recording this footage, and that's where I'll continue to post streams in future if I do anything else interesting. Lastly, as I said at the start, the Discord is a little empty, but it's the most reliable way to get information on upcoming videos, upcoming streams, and then get notifications when they actually go live. Thank you everybody who's watched this point. You guys are real ones. Take care of yourselves, and with any luck, I will see you in the next video.